Hey everybody, I'm Anthony Spartacus Tamayo. This is Echoed Influence. I'm here as always with Modest Betty herself, April Rodriguez.
Hi.
So, this week's theme is
Friends.
How many of us have them?
Friends.
Ones you can depend on. So, AP, why do you think it's so important to choose your friends?
I think it's important to choose your friends wisely because they have such a huge impact on your life, your everyday life. I mean, if you think about it, they make up most of your day probably. They're the ones you talk to when you're happy, you're sad. They're the one you spend your free time with. So what they do is what you want to do. So if they're going out, then you want to be with them. So if you're trying to accomplish something and your friends aren't on the same wavelength as you, it's going to be hard to accomplish it because you're going to constantly be trying to get them to go, and when they don't, you just don't do it. You just do what they want to do because you want to be around your friends, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's super important because it kind of makes up who you are.
Yeah.
Why do you think it would be important to pick a friend wisely?
I think, all in all, friends really give you perspective. Not so much that they give you their perspective or a perspective that you couldn't conceive before. It's more like they give you perspective. They say things and it makes you think in a different angle, and it makes you look at things and look at a picture differently. And I don't know, like I said, like friends, when you hang out with them enough, you start to engage with them in a level where it's just like second nature. You know, I know you to the personal foundation, and then you can either align perspective or it could be misaligned, but either way, I'm saying it gives you that difference in understanding that you had before, and friends will give you that. Friends will give you that different picture, like, oh no, it's a fucking bunny, you know. That's what
They'll show you a different way of looking at things. Open your eyes and your perspective.
Yes, yeah, and I really, thanks to my best friend here, I mean, I looked at life a whole lot differently thanks to her, and I'm super appreciative of it, you know. So what else, AP?
I think also friends have a huge impact on our emotions. You know, when you go to your friend and tell them, oh man, this happened to me, this happened with this person, and you're explaining to them, they're going to kind of have an impact on your moral code too. They're gonna help shift your navigation. And
it also takes first it takes bravery on one person's part, but it also takes a level of trust to put into another. Like, I mean, you're being vulnerable in front of this person, and that's your best friend, and that's who you trust to be vulnerable in front of. And you usually, when you do that with the best friend, you put what's vulnerable about you into them, and they're this machine that encourages you in return, that goes, no, you're strong, no, you're this and that, and that's what friends do.
Or should be doing.
Yeah, and they support you mentally, and then there's a balance of truth that comes with it. That sometimes can sting, it can hurt, but sometimes it's important to let your friend know certain truths that they aren't seeing. Like I said, perspective, again, it's important to intake perspective and not just like, okay, well, intake it, register it and apply it to different situations. They may not be applied to right then and there, but your friend is going to help you find that, and it's better to go in there with a friend, not even Superman, Spider-Man, everybody needs help. Everybody, Wonder Woman, everybody needs help.
I think sometimes too that we've had friends for so long that we don't want to disengage in any way from them or see us disengaging, and so we keep trying and trying and trying, and it's almost like a bad relationship, where you're investing but you're putting more than your fair share, and they're not meeting you halfway with it.
And there are also those friends that they're meant to be there for only 5-10 years or whatever, and then they teach you what they need to teach you, and there's nothing left to. That doesn't mean that they're not as important to you in your life. It just means that you're on to different things, and like they taught their lesson to you, they put their perspective, and then now it's time to move on. And sometimes that's just the way it plays out, and you have to let that sort of thing go. To chase after it, it will just make you be going backwards in life, and you're moving forward. We're all moving forward, and just because we end up separate from one another doesn't mean, like I said, doesn't mean we don't love them any less.
I have my example of my personal life. I had my cousin. She's my best friend for so long, for years. We've been best friends, did everything together, hiking, drawing at the park. We loved going for bike rides, we just everything. We had so much fun together. and she met her partner, and she just stopped hanging out with me. And at first I was so hurt, and I wanted to take it so personal, and it took me a while to realize that she was just doing what was best for her life, and trying to build her life and her foundation, and it wasn't personal, and she probably missed me just as much as I missed her and missed those times as well. But it was just life. That's just what happens. And like you said, sometimes friends are there for a little bit, and you just have to appreciate
What
the
they
time
give you
you
there,
had.
yeah.
And be ready to be open to what comes next, because like the saying always says, when the door closes, the window opens.
yeah.
So, and look at what I got.
You know, like
Awesome.
I also too, like when I was young, when I was about I think 7 or 8, I had this friend across the street. His name was Andrew. So, you know, I wanted to befriend him because, you know, I knew a lot of the neighborhood kids. When we would all play together, they would say some shit. So, like, I was like, you know what? He's not different at all. In fact, like, he's really cool. Like, going to his house, getting to know him. He lived right across the street. And then we became really good friends. Like, all those kids that it took time to play with and set things up, this guy was right across the street ready to go. And it's like, dude, you guys are whack. This is my best friend. Fuck all that if you want to, you know. And in the neighborhood, being a neighborhood kid, we're always ready to fight. And so it was me and this guy Andrew, you know, always ready to. We had each other's backs, you know. We were partners. He had a little sister that he was sometimes mean to, but even her, I had to reach over and be like, "Nah, dude, you know, she can be, you know, the damsel in distress or whatever the fuck, you know, like just there's no reason not to include her. Her sister was being the little sister trying. So especially like just live across the street, and you know, Andrew was my partner, and then. You know, he one day moved to Chicago, and I only knew that because I eventually asked, like, hey, you know, I haven't seen Andrew in a bit. Where's he been? And my dad, like, oh, yeah, he moved to Chicago, as if it was nothing. I didn't say bye, get an address, nothing. I just, from one thing to the next, he was gone. Like, it was like, and I started to think to myself, like, was he, you know, under protective, you know,
yeah,
like
your brain starts thinking
I was just like, where the
crazy.
fuck did he go, you know? So Andrew, if you're out there, man, Anthony Tamao from Pico Rivera, California, you know, let me know if you're still around.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and his mom was super nice too. I think she was like a single mom. I had never seen a dad there, but she was a single mom who held that whole house down. The whole house, it's huge, and it was just her and her 2 kids, and it was cool. Like she was, and me being there was like really no problem at all. Like, you know, there's just another kid in the house. Like there's plenty of space.
So, friends, sometimes you have to let them go before you're ready, and like you said, just appreciate the
time they give you.
Yeah.
And also there's also another factor too, where sometimes you don't even choose your friends. You know, sometimes you're just thrown in, or sometimes you just fall into place. You know, like Deadpool with the X-Men and stuff like that. The Suicide Squad, you know, everybody kind of fucked up, and then they ended up in a place where they were on a team. Football was like that for me. Sports was like that for me, where like, you know, there was like baseball. I didn't always want to play baseball. It wasn't like I wanted to do so much more. And at that time, baseball was just, you had to hone in and focus. That's what baseball is. My focus was all over the fucking place. So football, basketball was more my speed, wrestling. But playing baseball, you get put on a team, and you know, you make these friends, and then before you know it, you're like, I'm really enjoying baseball again. Like I'm just enjoying baseball for the mere fact that I made new friends. I had old friends that are still from other old teams, old coaches, new coaches. You know, the combination was awesome, and being thrown into a team, and then even better with football, better with basketball, better with wrestling. You know, it was just like, I don't know these people, and then when you got to know them through the sport, through that social anxiety, you know, it strengthens that bond. And then for going forward from there, you know, you feel like an unstoppable force. You know, so there is some good in choosing a team that chooses you, that you really don't want to. You know, I don't want to. And it's like, you know what, be a little bit open-minded to it. There's a balance to what we had just said, you know.
Or not even like, I don't want to, but like sometimes like, well, what I was gonna go into was where to find friends or how to make friends. But sometimes you said like you fall into it, and that's like for me with Home Gallery, I feel like I fell into my crew. Like I didn't go out necessarily looking for anyone, but we all kind of feel like we fell together and became this like super team.
Yeah, like all that. First thing I know, I'm talking to April at Smith Park. Next thing I know, we're putting together art events, and I'm an artist. You know, like wow, like what a difference. So there's a great significance.
And the first thing, I mean, I was just putting together one event, and like I was just putting together a little
Be happy to just do that
party, yeah. And all of a sudden, we're putting together a nonprofit organization. Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing ever. But
what a ride it's
I
been
know.
to, guys. It's
That's what I'm
just
saying. You just put your heart into what you want to be doing. If you want to join if you want to be playing sports, go join a team. Why not? You
Yeah.
know, like if you like reading books, go to the library and read. Go to the coffee shop. Try looking for book clubs. You know.
yeah, and it's even as simple if you're like someone who you feel like, oh God, I'm out of shape. Well, then submerge yourselves in around people who like to stay in shape.
Yeah, who are
Like and
trying.
go to the gym. Don't hit on women. Fucking make some friends. You know,
Yeah,
ask questions. Like ask them how to do certain things, and then help them. Buy them a drink, you know, or whatever. Like and submerge yourself in the culture you want to see yourself in.
Yes,
You know, like I wanted to see myself in an more artist background culture, and so that's exactly what I did. Not only did I make art, not only did I try and sell it to other artists and I went to art shows. I went to go make friends at those art shows who invited us to other art walks. You know what I mean? So you put yourself out there. I promise it. Someone's gonna like you for who you are. And say like, oh God, you know, this guy's cool. You know, let's get him to do this or get him. That's what all Home Gallery is all about. Is getting those people. It's like, hey, you have a skill. We love you. We love it. We love you even if you don't have a skill. We'll find you a skill. You know.
And don't be afraid to go at it alone either, which is coming.
Oh yeah. Next week.
Yeah. So don't be afraid to go by yourself. Just do it and go out there because it's what you love anyways, and the people will come.
Yeah. Just trust in yourself and like trust that the people will find you. And I mean, just as we said before too, we were talking like if you're gonna drink and go out to bars and stuff and do that, that's what you're gonna find. You're gonna find other people who just want to drink and go
if
to
that's
bars.
what you want, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, but like that's all you're gonna get from that. It's not likely that you're gonna find someone who's aligned with you and say like, oh, I like to hike too. If they say they like to hike, usually it's drunk talk. Usually it's like it's just bullshit that's being said between two people. So when you go to a genuine function, then you get people who are genuinely interested in that event, and then you get as opposed to just being at a bar like, oh, you like sports, I like sports, but then somewhere along the line in sports you will fucking butt heads. You don't like another team, I don't like you, and then oh, you like the same team, but I prefer that starter, or I prefer that. Yeah, or I'm a more bigger fan than you. Yes, I like Troy Aikman more than you, or whatever the fuck. It's a no matter what. So, like, to deviate from that, go to a function where you're not in constant competition, where you're just enjoying the fuck out of your own company and then enjoying the company out of others. Go to an art show, go to a festival, go to something like that. Change it up, but yeah, you know. So.
Go to something you like. Yeah, go to the. There's so many places you can.
Sometimes
go
finding friends
programs.
is compromising too. It's just like you can't just be a dick your whole life and then be like, why don't I have any friends? You know,
Yes.
people, you got to come in the other way too and be like, okay, why are you so annoying to
Yeah,
me? Let's
relationships
engage.
in
You know.
general, or whether it's with family, friends,
Mhm.
loved ones, whatever. It's compromise always.
Yes. Yeah. So, I think that's enough for our fans for right now. And
We're just talking about-
tune into our next segment, which will be counseling with comic book couples, and we'll be talking about two writers who wrote to us, and it should be good. So we'll see you guys then. Peace.